The eldest of Fred and Cindy Warmbier's 3 children, Otto was born on December 12, 1994 in Cincinnati, Ohio, United States. He was a bright and promising young man. Considered a popular and studious student, he graduated in 2013 with an important academic degree. Because he was very interested in other cultures, the young man had already visited several countries in Europe, as well as Israel, Cuba, and Ecuador. In 2015, Otto planned to participate in a study program in Hong Kong. Taking advantage of his plans in Asia, he decided that he would visit North Korea during the New Year period before leaving for Hong Kong. According to the young man's father, he said that the trip was safe for American citizens and stated that he was curious about their culture. I wanted to meet the people of North Korea. The trip, Otto was interested in traveling and learning about different cultures, which led him to participate in an organized tour to North Korea in 2015-2016. This trip was promoted by the tour company Young Pioneer Tours, which offered guided tours of the country to foreign tourists, despite the known restrictions and risks associated with traveling to North Korea. On December 29, 2015, Warmbier left for a stopover in Beijing before arriving in Korea. Once in Korea, he and a group of tourists, which included 10 other American citizens, would spend 5 days in the country. Otto arrived in North Korea in late December 2015 as part of a tour group. During his stay, he visited the capital, Pyongyang, where he participated in scheduled activities, such as visits to monuments and museums. The group celebrated the New Year with a party at Kim Il-sung Square in Pyongyang before returning to their accommodations at the Yanggakdo International Hotel, where they continued to consume some alcoholic beverages. Early in the morning on New Year's Day, Warmbier allegedly attempted to steal a political propaganda poster to take back to the United States as a trophy for someone at his local church. The poster read, "Let's arm ourselves with the patriotism of Kim Jong-il." Causing any kind of damage or even stealing materials bearing the name or image of a North Korean leader is considered a serious crime by the North Korean government. Kim Jong-il is the father of the current leader, Kim Jong-un. On January 2, 2016, Warmbier was arrested at Pyongyang International Airport while awaiting departure from North Korea. Danny Grattan, a British member of Warmbier's tour group, witnessed the arrest. Not a word was said. 2 guards came and just tapped Otto on the shoulder and took him away. I just said, kind of nervously, "Well, that's the last we'll see of you." There's a great irony in those words. That was it. That was the last time I saw Otto. Otto didn't resist. He didn't seem scared. He kind of smiled, Grattan recounted. As the group's plane was about to leave the terminal, an officer came on board and announced, "Otto is very ill and has been taken to the hospital." This was not true. North Korea's state-run Korean Central News Agency, KCNA, initially announced that Warmbier had been detained for hostile acts against the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The Asian country refused to detail the exact nature of his wrongdoing for 6 weeks. Confession of a crime. At a press conference on February 29, 2016, Warmbier, reading from a written statement, confessed that he had attempted to steal a propaganda poster from a restricted area on the 2nd floor of the Yanggakdo Hotel to take back to the United States. On March 16, 2016, just hours after U.S. envoy Bill Richardson met with 2 North Korean diplomats at the United Nations office in New York to press for Warmbier's release, Otto was tried and convicted in North Korea's Supreme Court. Evidence at his hour-long trial included his videotaped confession, hotel CCTV footage, fingerprint evidence on the poster, and testimony from a number of bystanders. Warmbier said in his confession that he had abandoned the poster after discovering it was too large to carry, but that did not prevent him from being sentenced to 15 years of manual labor. U.S. State Department spokesman Mark Toner said it was clear that North Korea was detaining American citizens to use for political purposes, although the Asian country vehemently denied the allegation. Otto's return to the United States. On June 13, 2017, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson announced that Otto had been released from North Korea and would arrive in the United States within the next few hours. However, the young man would never return to his home country in the same condition he had left. Warmbier was in a coma. Subsequent reports indicate that, at a meeting in New York on June 6, North Korean authorities informed U.S. State Department Special Representative Joseph Yun that the young man had contracted foodborne botulism shortly after his sentencing and had fallen into a coma after taking a sleeping pill. Otto's doctors at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center said he was in an unresponsive state of wakefulness, commonly known as a persistent vegetative state. He was able to breathe on his own and blink his eyes, but otherwise showed no signs of awareness of his surroundings. North Korean medical records showed that Otto had been in this state since April 2016, a month after his conviction. Upon his release, the North Koreans provided records of 2 MRI brain scans dated April and July of that year that showed the damage to the young man's brain. According to his medical team, the brain scans revealed that Warmbier had suffered extensive loss of brain tissue throughout the region, consistent with a cardiopulmonary event that deprived him of oxygen to his head. Doctors said they did not know what caused the cardiac arrest, but that it could have been triggered by respiratory arrest. A neurocritical care specialist at the hospital said there was no evidence to suggest any signs of botulism. After his parents requested that his feeding tube be removed, Otto Warmbier died in hospital at 2:20 p.m. on June 19, 2017, at the age of 22. His parents announced his death with the following message: "It is our sad duty to announce that our son, Otto Warmbier, has completed his journey home. Surrounded by his loving family, Otto passed away today at 2:20 p.m. It would be easy at a time like this to focus on what we have lost, time in the future that will not be spent with a brilliant, warm-hearted young man whose curiosity and enthusiasm for life knew no bounds. But we have chosen to focus on the time we have gained by being with this remarkable person. We can tell by the outpouring of emotion from the communities he touched, Wyoming, Ohio, and the University of Virginia, to name just 2, that the love for Otto went far beyond his immediate family. We would like to thank the wonderful professionals at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center who did everything they could for Otto. Unfortunately, the horrific and torturous mistreatment our son received at the hands of North Korea ensured that no other outcome was possible than the sad one we are experiencing today. When Otto returned to Cincinnati on June 13th, he was unable to speak, see, or respond to verbal commands. He seemed quite uncomfortable, almost distressed. Although we never heard his voice again, one day his demeanor had changed. He was at peace. He was home, and we believe he could feel it. We thank everyone around the world who kept him and our family in their thoughts and prayers. We are at peace and at home too. The outburst on national television. In an interview with Fox TV in 2017, Otto's parents broke their silence since their son's death. Fred and Cindy accused the North Koreans of systematically torturing their son, in addition to calling them terrorists. The parents of the young student said that the interview was a way they found to tell the truth about the conditions in which Otto found himself. The boy's father said that when he saw his son, he was pacing, having violent spasms and making sounds and howls that did not seem human. He also said that the boy had his head shaved and was deaf and blind. His legs and arms were completely deformed and he had a huge scar on one of his feet. It also looked like someone had used pliers to move his lower teeth, said Fred. Otto was systematically tortured and intentionally injured by Kim Jong-un, leader of North Korea, and his regime. This was not an accident. He also criticized the US government and the international community for having abandoned his son. Despite the strong accusations made by Otto's family, the Cincinnati Enquirer newspaper questioned the couple's statements. The newspaper reported that it had access to the student's death certificate. According to them, the boy's body had several small scars, but nothing that indicated or configured any practice of torture. The newspaper also reported that the coroner who examined Otto said that his teeth were in good condition and that the death was due to brain damage caused by lack of oxygen. The true cause of Otto Warmbier's death was never known, since the student's parents did not allow an autopsy to be performed on their son's body. Only an external post-mortem examination was performed. The North Korean government was assured that it did everything possible for the young American's health. The boy's parents are convinced that North Korea sent the boy home only because they didn't want him to die in the country. Controversies. Although a local morgue had received the student's body for an autopsy and expected to release preliminary findings on the cause of death, plans changed after coroners decided, at the family's request, not to perform an autopsy and instead to limit the examination to an external examination of the body. There was no immediate word from the student's family or relatives about why they requested an autopsy not be performed, a procedure that could shed light on the causes of the neurological injuries Warmbier suffered in North Korea. Warmbier died just 2 days after he was released by the North Korean government and returned to the United States suffering from extensive brain damage, according to the American doctors who treated him. In December 2018, a Washington judge ruled that North Korean authorities were responsible for the torture, hostage-taking, and extrajudicial killing of Otto Warmbier, and therefore ordered the family to pay compensation of $501 million. However, the court ruling had a symbolic value, as it is highly unlikely that the North Korean government will pay the compensation. The family has not given up and is now asking the US to hand over a North Korean ship that was seized in May 2019 on suspicion of being used to sell coal, which violates international sanctions against Pyongyang. The parents of the American student argue that if Washington gave them the ship, the North Korean authorities would be paying compensation for the death of their son, as they claim that he was brutally tortured and murdered by Kim Jong-un's regime. Travel by Americans to North Korea. Since the guns of the Korean War fell silent on July 27, 1953, tens of thousands of American troops have remained in South Korea to guard the 38th parallel with North Korea, the imaginary line dividing the two countries. Along with their South Korean allies, US forces regularly conduct large-scale military exercises on the peninsula, often drawing rebukes from the government in Pyongyang. But despite these tensions and the lack of formal diplomatic relations between the US and North Korea, a small but steady stream of Americans has passed through the country on organized trips, sometimes with dangerous results. Do not travel to North Korea due to the continuing serious risk of arrest and prolonged detention of US citizens, reads a travel advisory on the US State Department website. The US government is unable to provide emergency services to American citizens in North Korea. American citizens have been detained in North Korea multiple times since 1996, including tourists, academics, and journalists. In July 2017, the US government banned American citizens from visiting the country, a measure that has been extended until at least August 2023.